Wherever I turn, I seem to be surrounded by people who are amazed by the incredible powers of crystals.
Welcome back! Today's video will be about crystals.
You've got rose quartz to find love, citrine for money, amethyst to release stress. It seems like there is a perfect stone for everything. Recently, that popularity reached a new peak, with a 40% increase in the Google searches related to crystal healings. They're definitely becoming a trend, and when there is a trend, everyone has an opinion. You've got the enthusiasts who cannot wait to tell you all about their adventures with using crystals and all the marvelous experiences. You've got the skeptics who think it's all a hoax. And then you've got the news outlets that make money using headlines such as, "I tried using crystal healing for a week. You would never believe what happened next." So up until this point, it all seems all quite innocent. If it works in releasing stress or making you find your dream job, that's good. If it doesn't, it's not really gonna influence your life that much. But what happens when crystals are used to heal cancer? The internet is now multiplying in websites and online stores that sells different type of crystals to cure and help curing different type of cancer. And so are the patients that are ready to try it. Maybe because they tried everything else already, or because they simply do not trust modern medicine. Some of them even claim that the reason why people are getting cancer is not due to cancerous cells, but because they are lacking love energies, or because they need to release the creativity within themselves that is making them falling ill. To try and understand more of this phenomenon, I went to talk to my good friend MJ. She's been using crystals for a while now, and she has a background in alternative healing.
I'm used to put stones and crystals under my bed when I was feeling a bit anxious or stressed for any reason. So it was a pretty normal thing for me.
Why do you think people nowadays tend to use alternative type of healings instead of going through traditional medicine?
I think it's because people like to believe that there is some sort of magic that could save them from whatever disease they have. And because that's a pretty comforting feeling, I think. That people just like the idea of not really having to do anything or not have to suffer because they have, a powerful stone that's gonna help them through all this. I can't even blame them in a way, in the sense that I understand why they feel like this, but obviously I just want to say that stones do not help cure serious diseases like cancer or diabetes or any other.
Do you think they exploit the hope of people who have no other options or tried every other option and it didn't work for them?
Most definitely, because the thing is, these people get convinced that they can just use stones or any other kind of magic to cure things that they simply cannot cure without traditional medicine. If anyone is saying that it was cured from cancer with stones, I simply think that it's not true. And I'm fairly sure that they don't have strong evidence to support this.
So MJ believes there are limitations to the use of crystals, but to make things even clearer, I decided to contact Jeremy Snyder, a bioethicist at the Simon Fraser University, Canada, who recently published a paper on The Lancet on alternative healing's GoFundMe campaigns to cure cancer.
In one of the first paragraphs, you mentioned how some patients turn to alternative type of healings to regain a sense of control.
Yeah, so there are a range of reasons why people might were describing themselves as looking for homeopathic treatments. In a lot of cases, these were people who were very, very ill. A significant number had a terminal diagnosis, and they may, in some cases, they're motivated by saying, "Look, my doctors are telling me that I'm going to die," or I just don't believe in modern medicine. I don't believe in Western medicine. And but unfortunately, the doctors aren't going to give me these treatments that I want. So for them, crowdfunding was a way of saying, I can give this money to pursue the treatment that I want, to kind of take control of my treatment in some cases, or just to not give up. And while some of these people might have palliative care available to them, what was coming across a lot of times, what they wanted was curative care. They wanted to not say, okay, I understand that I have terminal diagnosis, how can I move forward? But rather, I need to keep trying to cure this disease. I have to beat this cancer, that kind of language.
In other parts of your research, you mention how some patients turn to alternative healings because they feel more and more skeptical towards traditional medicine. Why do you think we're seeing this trend increase when there are scientific evidence that medical treatments like chemotherapy and radiotherapy for cancer do more good to patients than bad?
Yeah. There were essentially two rationales in that group, and to be honest, if I were doing this again, I probably would have separated them out a little bit more clearly. So some of those were, as I was just talking about, people who had been getting a terminal diagnosis and they've been told that there was palliative care or other options available to them, but said, I don't accept that diagnosis. I don't, palliative care is giving up. I'm not ready to die, but I want to keep trying. In other cases, and I think this was a smaller group, they hadn't necessarily, there were care options available to them, but for one reason or another, they simply didn't believe in them. So a common kind of rationale or conversation that you'd see is that, my cousin, my mother, my aunt, whoever, she had chemotherapy and she died. Or chemotherapy is poison. I've read this, or I've seen this from other relatives. It ruins their lives, it makes their hair fall out, this sort of thing. So it really came out of a big distrust of modern Western medicine. In a lot of cases based on anecdotes, but in other cases just based on what they've read in the internet or from other friends and these sort of informal networks.
Something really interesting on an ethical standpoint is the fact that you mention an exploitation of hope of these patients, because obviously they're desperate and they're trying to find any method to heal from cancer.
Yeah, I think that's a huge issue, and I think it's right to focus most of the blame and concern on people who are offering these services, especially when they ought to know better. If you take somebody who's desperately ill, maybe they've been given a terminal cancer diagnosis, and they're making these kind of unfounded claims about homeopathy is going to cure my cancer, and please give me money to help with that. I think that's unfortunate, but it's hard to really pinpoint a lot of blame on those individuals, given the situation, the fear, and the illness that they're facing. But when you have doctors or people who are taking on that label, who, despite all the evidence that this stuff doesn't work, are going to be selling those products anyway, that's where you're really taking advantage of people's fear and illness and desperation, in some cases ignorance, and not just taking advantage of it, but actually spreading that in a lot of cases.
What happens to be really clear is that the biggest issue concerning alternative types of healings, including crystals, is that there is no tangible proof that they can bring any health benefit, not to say heal patients. And that is really easy to exploit hope from people who have most often have nothing else to lose. Crystals are without a doubt magnificent objects to collect, study, and even just admire for how beautiful they are. But that is probably all they should be used for, at least until any scientific evidence proves the contrary.